Okay, hi everyone, welcome back. And in this update, we are going to check out Ondo's price chart and see what is happening in the short term. But before we get into all that, we are going to check out some news. And I think this might be one of the biggest updates we have ever seen in RWA space. And in case you don't know, the SEC officially closed its investigation against Ondo with zero charges. And for a project working directly with tokenized treasuries, I think this is a very positive development, and I think it is going to have mainly two effects. And the first one, I think it is going to come down to institutions that basically, I would say, with this lawsuit got their green light. You see, one of the biggest things holding back RWA adoption in general actually has been regulatory uncertainty, and a lot of large institutions were interested, yep, but their compliance teams actually want every single thing clean before they start the move. And now that the SEC has closed the probe in here, number one, Ondo's structure for tokenized treasuries is actually seen as fully compliant. Number two, the counterparty risk is actually reduced heavily. And number three, I think Ondo becomes like the safest choice for banks, asset managers, and also regulated partners. And I think surviving a strict Biden/Gensler era investigation definitely gives Ondo like a blue chip label that few crypto projects ever get. And I do think because of this, we are going to see a whole lot more adoption in the future, in the mid to long term, coming towards Ondo's way. Second reason for why I think this is such a positive development actually comes down to Ondo's token itself. You see, this investigation also looks at whether the Ondo token could be a potential security or not, and it's very important to understand, again, the SEC shutting the case without any kind of charges is basically the best outcome possible, because with this, number one, the token is essentially less likely to face any classification issues. Number two, there's essentially no threat of delisting from exchanges. And number three, more regulated platforms can list it without really fear. So in conclusion, I think this is like a very positive news for Ondo, because now, well, they actually have the kind of regularity that most of their competitors don't really have. They also control the infrastructure for trading tokenized assets. And also, like we said earlier, institutions can now very much safely work with them at a scale. And again, I do think this is going to trigger like a massive wave of adoption. So overall, yep, I think we definitely got some great news, and I do think the effects of this are going to show themselves on the charts in the mid to long term, okay? Not necessarily short term. If you want to know what's gonna happen in the next, let's say, couple of weeks, I think you should actually, for that matter, pay full attention to what is going on in terms of technical analysis. And if you remember, the last time that we talked about Ondo, we were right around the lows, and the idea was that, well, okay, this can be 5 wave up, followed by that. We said we may see a bit of a correction down, but then odds are we are going to have yet another move on the upside, and we did get our move up. Question is this actually a bullish sign or not? You see, it can be if you are willing to ignore maybe two things. Number one, if you are willing to say this move right in here is our last move down, although in it, as you can see, we did not take the lows in here. So essentially, you have to argue this is like a truncated final wave down. And I know truncated waves are like extremely rare, but it is possible for us to have a bit of a truncated wave. And also, you have to maybe a little bit close your eyes to the fact that probably, I'm gonna say, in this phase down in Ondo, we actually took the loss. Why am I saying probably? Because in this chart, which is from TradingView, by like the smallest margin, we have taken the loss. But if you go on some other charts, for instance, the one from Binance, well, in it, we actually didn't really take the loss. Now, if you want to talk about the bullish case, then okay, I think you have to pretty much argue that this is a wave 1 followed by a correction for 2, and hopefully soon we're gonna have a great move on the upside into wave 3 and 4 and 5. And essentially this scenario suggests from the current point we are going to witness a great continuation of our move on the upside. Now, what should we do right now? This is like the main question. First things first, right now we shouldn't really do a whole lot. Why is that? Because in about an hour we are going to have the FOMC minutes, and yeah, right now we are having a 90% chance of Jerome Powell cutting rates by 25 basis points. And I'm going to argue this is basically a given, and the market is not really going to be happy about a 25 basis point cut because it has already priced in the effects. Now, here's a very important point. What really matters in my view is actually Jerome Powell's speech, and if he is going to be like very, very hawkish, I think the markets are going to tank maybe for the next 12 to 24 hours. On the other hand, if it's going to be a bit dovish and he is going to maybe sort of kind of hint at like more rate cuts coming in the next coming months, then okay, that's going to be a bit of a different story. At that point, you are going to see some good moves on the upside in a lot of risk assets, including crypto, and also generally, I would say for that matter, the whole altcoin market. Now, here's a very important point. Generally, I think you need to be a little bit more patient in Ondo and wait and see, are we going to get a break of this important line right in here? Why do we care about this? Because I think if we manage to get a confirmed break of this line, at that point, it might be confirmed that we are having a bit of a double bottom structure. And what's going to be the target for it? You have to, first things first, put your chart on regular scale and then measure the height of your pattern from here to about the lows. There we go. And put this thing at your supposedly breaking point. Excuse me. Let's just say we're going to break it right around this area. This is essentially giving you maybe like a 65 cents Ondo, meaning from the current point, we can expect something like a 20-25% move on the upside in the short term, which is definitely not that bad. Now, what do I mean by having a confirmed break of the next line? I'm talking about having an initial move above the next line, followed by a very slow and choppy pullback, and then a continuation of the move up. Okay, it's very important to understand this. In this phase, the moments that we take this high, at that point, we can say, yeah, you know what? Fair enough. This pattern is confirmed and it is going to send us up. Why is it that maybe just a simple move above the next line is not really enough for me? Because this might end up being just a little bit of a fake out, and after it, you may see another move on the downside in Ondo in order to take the loss. And here is a very important point. Even if we want to be bearish in Ondo and we want to argue, let's say even from the current point, we are going to have a bit of a move on the downside, I do not believe that we are going to witness like some very strong moves now. No, I think overall downsides in Ondo are extremely limited since we are around this very strong level of support from weekly and daily time frame at the same time. And yeah, okay, fair enough. Maybe we are going to go down a little bit and we're going to get to about the lower band of this region, about 41.5 to about 42 cents area. But then I am expecting a rather a strong bounce. And by the way, I forgot to tell you this. I don't really expect Ondo, if we want to go down maybe like in a very slow manner. No, if we're going to have one final move down, it's actually going to be a rather quick move down followed by an immediate bounce, and then I'm gonna really pay attention to what is happening in this phase on the upside. If off of the lowest low we end up having a 1 2 3 4 5, excuse me, let's just take this one, a 1 2 3 4 5 followed by a slow move down in form of a correction, maybe an ABC, this is going to be a great trading opportunity. What about having in here a buy opportunity? Well, you already know my stance on this. You see, generally, I think these areas are great buying opportunities for the mid to long term in Ondo. That's why in every single video, I'm telling you, look, you can do whatever you want. From my POV, these are great opportunities, and that's why I'm just buying the dip in Ondo. And if we are going to have maybe like one more final move on the downside, believe me, I am going to take advantage of that opportunity big time. And I hope I explained everything well and you understood what is going on in Ondo's chart. And until the next update, I hope you have a wonderful time. Goodbye.